Welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Yes. In your long search for as low as you can go, you've hit the rock bottom here at Streaming Idiots. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. We have lots of fun and we're allowed to make mistakes because that's what happens a lot of times in live streaming. You know, you think one thing's going to happen and then something else entirely different does happen, and sometimes it's even better than what you planned. Rarely the case for me, but nevertheless. The show is all about live streaming. And as you if you've watched the show before, and by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe now and get it over with. If you've watched the show before, you probably know that the show is just a giant infomercial for my company, Eastern Shore Broadcasting. That's right, easternshorebroadcasting.com. And we are purveyors, that is sellers. We sell all sorts of stuff. And if you buy some of our stuff, the show goes on. We design and build custom streaming PCs. Now, when I say custom, people are thinking, oh gosh, it costs $15,000. No, actually, it's probably a lot less than you would think. You can go to our website and see some of the off-the-shelf ones that we have in our live streaming gear line. We also represent vMix as a reseller. That is, did you know you can buy vMix from us for the same price that you can buy it from vMix? And you get our, meaning my, personal lifetime support. You say, what is lifetime support? Well, it's yours or mine, whichever ends first. Sorry about that. A little bit of morbid humor. But the idea is that we want to help you get started off on the right foot. So if you buy vMix for us, you do get all that assistance. When somebody says, like, shouldn't there be a rule you turn your cell phone off when you start a show? I think that should be on the list. Who is calling me? I've told them never to call me. Just teasing. So let's mute that. So the idea is that if you buy vMix from us, you get our personal support, and it really helps you get. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't call vMix. Well, actually, nobody can call vMix. You can call me, but you can't call vMix. But it doesn't mean you can't send them an email or go into the vMix forum for support, because you can. But there's nothing like having personal support when you just bump into that sticky audio issue where you're getting double audio and you can't figure out why. Isn't it nice to have somebody that can remote in and say, oh yeah, here it is, that little check button right there, and then boom, that does it, and you're back where you want to go. We also represent Ptz Optics. We are one of Ptz Optics, not their #1 yet, but one of their top AV resellers here in the States. And so if you're thinking about a pan tilt zoom camera for your church or for an event hall or for your studio, we have a community TV station. You say, oh, community TV station. They've got 8 of our Ptz Optics cameras in various places, and they're using that now instead of regular traditional broadcast cameras, because they love the ability to be able not to have a cameraman there to make the fine movements, the fine adjustments that they need to make. We also represent Magewell. You know, those are the folks that have that great USB 3 dongle that plugs into your laptop and allows you to have all sorts of attachments for your cameras and such. We also represent Uon, which is a capture card company. We represent X-Keys, those crazy folks at X-Keys. They're coming on the show later this month. It's going to be fun. Dan and Miranda will be here, and you won't want to miss that show, but I'm getting ahead of myself. And we also represent, golly, I know I've left out somebody. I hate when I do this. Oh, I know who we represent. We represent Global Streams and Panamation Software. And you say, what is Panamation Software? Well, funny that you would have mentioned that. But before we go there, sorry about this, I got to give a shout out to Peter Backus. Peter is one of the assistants running vMix on a beast of a PC that we built for the Drew University Concert Hall, I guess probably a year and a half ago. And Peter started a contest, and he was the only one to enter his contest. And his contest was, they've got 3 or 4 Ptz Optics cameras there in the concert hall. They do all sorts of concert stuff. Of course, it's a concert hall. It's like where the New York Philharmonic, anyway, that New York orchestra, it's where they go to record. I mean, it's the acoustics in that building are amazing. And so they have this amazing audio setup. And with us, they have an amazing video setup. So Peter's decided he wants to see how many different PTZ for my Australian friends, how many PTZ presets in vMix he can get in there. And he sent me an email this morning and it said he's up to 350 vMix preset shots for PTZ cameras. 350. Yes, yes. And he hasn't stopped. So I think he's winning that contest. Anyway, so that's a big shout out to Peter at Drew University. And then, of course, a reminder that if you're new to vMix, or even if you're old to vMix, even if you're an old vMix user, you can benefit from knowing more about vMix than you do now. And that's why you need to consider my new class, the vMix 101 Basics of Live Production, coming up May 22nd in we're going to, well, I'll tell you the details when you sign up for it. But anyway, May 22nd, it's $99. It's a 6-week class. It runs on Tuesdays at noon Eastern. And we had a great time with 13 folks the first time. They got to know each other a little bit. Now they're friends and they're interacting with each other and helping each other out with vMix stuff. It was really cool. A lot of folks are watching now. Anybody that's watching now that was in the class that would like to give their own testimonial in the chat, we would love to hear that too, of course, and the check is in the mail as it always is. All right, enough of this preliminary stuff. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to the good stuff. We have with us a very special guest. And this gentleman showed up at the Streaming Idiots NAB gathering and brought some stuff. And I said, well, if you brought some stuff, come on, let's let you give some stuff away. He brought some software. And that was the first time I got to really meet Mike. And he came early and stayed late. It was great. And a lot of you, if you were there, you got to meet him. So Mike Benke from Panamation and Global Streams. Let's just bring him in. Where is Mike? There he is. All right, Mike. And of course,
hi Tom.
Mike has adjusted his physical position since we set up this side-by-side shot. So we'll fix him. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Thank you.
I was looking at our shoulder. Yeah, I was looking at our shoulder heights, and it's like I'm in a high chair next to you or something. I don't know. It's kind of funny looking at. I thought I'd maybe get down a little bit. Hi, Tom. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the audience, frankly, and love to show off Panamation and hopefully expose people to some tool that maybe will be helpful for them. So a little nervous. This is my only my second or third show. I see Giles is here. I think he was my first show a month ago or something like that now.
Yep.
And anyway, so I apologize in advance for tripping over my tongue and saying things wrong.
That's no problem. No problem. Mike, it was great to have you on the show. Thanks for coming. And now we'll get on. No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, no, that's probably the best thing you could do right about now, Tom. You mentioned your party. That was great. Of course, I had a great chaperone this year at NAB with Eric Pratt over at US Broadcast, a longtime friend.
Eric's going to be on the show here in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Well, he's, a real, what can I say? I mean, he's been doing it for a long time and just a real valuable person to know. And
now you and Eric have some history, like 20 years ago history.
That's right. So I met Eric Pratt.
In fact, not only your history with Eric, but the history with Global Streams, which is where Panamation came from. Give us about 2 minutes of that history there. This is like 1990.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. So this product is the result of an effort by a company called Play Incorporated, which was founded back in the mid-90s by a group that had left New Tech, and you know, they built some amazing products. It's all started out with a product called Snappy, which was a frame grabber, and you know, how I got started in all of this, you know, which is a whole nother story. But I met Eric working at Play, and you know, it's been 20 years, you know, since we met, and unfortunately Play didn't last too long. The you know, company kind of fell apart. I'm hesitating to say this. I mean, the leader died there at a very early age. Very sad story. But the technology was so great that this group in St. Louis built a whole business model around it. In fact, the business model was streaming. This was '99 when the company was purchased by Global Streams. Yeah, Global Streams here in St. Louis bought the company and or the technology, and they were actually you know, had gone out and gotten all this money in venture capital to you know, basically provide on-site streaming for Fortune 500s. So you, if you're Coca-Cola and you want to do a live stream event of your shareholder meeting, you would hire Global Streams. They'd fly a kit out there and 2 guys to set up cameras in '99 to do this stuff. It was Windows Media Encoder and Real encoder and 56K and 300K. I mean, if you were doing 300K, you were really, you were smoking hot.
You were screaming
back then, and you were
Speaking
screaming.
of smoking hot,
yeah.
Speaking of smoking hot, you might want to let your wife know that she's on the live stream in the background.
Thank you. Yeah, I noticed that earlier. I was kind of giggling. I don't know, turn around. Hey, you know, get out of here.
That's right. We just don't want her to do something that she
yeah,
would send
no,
this show
she's
on the wrong channel. Oh,
well, you know what? It's either gonna, yeah, it'll be either her or my 3-year-old son will probably come and press his face to the glass here any moment. I think they're in there making lunch, and so you know, Jake may be joining us sort of unannounced, you know, at some point. But she's aware that this is going on. I think lock the door and
okay. That's too funny.
Anyway.
So you and Eric had an experience way back there, and they had this great product, and it kind of died and faded away a little bit, and then you decided to go in and revive it 20 years later.
Yeah, that's right. For a lot of reasons, it didn't. The Globecaster didn't move forward into HD, and that was sort of the death nail for that product, and really opened the door for, you know, us. I mean, really, we just kind of handed the baton off to New Tech, and they came roaring in with the Tricaster, which was a great, obviously great product. Is a great product, and you know, my hat's off to those guys for, you know, taking Trinity and Globecaster and sticking them together in a name. Is brilliant marketing. But anyway, they're great to work with, and the product has been pretty much stagnant for about 10 years now. The last development we really did for that product was back in '08. And anyway, I took over the company back in 2014. I'd been a tech support guy basically for 20 years. You know, wearing lots of different hats, really. It was a pretty small company. But I took over in 2014, and the first thing I did was fly out to California to meet up with all the old Play guys that had built the original system. And, you know, we just put our heads together and looked at the landscape, and you know, decided to move forward with taking these tools and applying them to off-the-shelf hardware and software solutions. So, you know, our old product was so hardware centric. I mean, we had a big box. It was 80 pounds. It had like 20 custom cards in it, and you know, that's just how you did things back in the 90s. You know, there was no vMix back in '99. I can tell you that. You know, so these tools are amazing. It's amazing what you can get out of a computer nowadays. And so we're taking all of those really neat tools that we had built in over the years, and you know, basically, you know, cutting the cord, so to speak, on the big hardware, and leveraging some of these off-the-shelf solutions. So I'm excited about the process. You know, these guys that I'm working with are amazing engineers. You know, I put them on the Martin level. It's unbelievable what that guy's done with this vMix product.
That's a high level. Holy cow!
It really is, and I'm not shy to say it. I mean, you know, you got to remember these guys. I mean, Bill Gates was saying that this was unbelievable, you know, groundbreaking technology that these guys developed back in 96, 97, 98, changing the world type stuff. And so, you know, they were in good company in terms of, you know, some real forward-thinking folks. And anyway, NDI has really, you know, that's really the first thing that we jumped on. It's given us oxygen. It's given us a place to go. You know, without having to design and develop new hardware, we're able to integrate and, you know, interface with these tools like vMix and NewTek and all the others. So Panamation was the first, is the first of, you know, several unique applications that we intend to reintroduce to the market. We chose Panamation first because frankly it already was able to do HD resolutions and beyond. It just was sort of limited in terms of the hardware that it was connected to as to what it could put out. So we got rid of the hardware problem, and Panamation actually is capable of going up to 8,000 by 8,000, so like 8K internally. You know, we're releasing the software in sort of stages. So right now we have the 1080p or the HD version that we've released. Past that, you know, in the coming months we'll have 4K, and then, you know, we'll see where the market goes. You know, I think that the thing that Panamation also brings to the table is it's a very unique tool in terms of its functionality. You know, it was sort of, actually it was built to be a animated graphics tool. So if you were creating something in Trinity or Globecaster and you wanted to have a show open, let's say, you know, you could build all of that right there in Panamation. The, you know, flying in of graphics, you know, copy it into a new project and make a lower third. You know, they talk about branding being very important. And being consistent with your brand in terms of your graphics that you're using. So this was a tool that really allowed people to do that. And I kind of say right now, it's like, you know, it's After Effects light, or, you know, it's somewhere between maybe Paint and After Effects, which I've gotten a little bit of pushback on that description because, you know, Paint probably really undersells it. But the point is, you know, the tools are all right there. There's not a lot of sub menus you have to learn. You know, and yeah, I think it's a lot easier to use than After Effects personally. So the Telestrator is actually the newest thing that we've come up with. I mean, we've taken the core engine in Panamation and extracted sort of a simpler user interface that really just calls up, you know, the things that we think someone would need in a live Telestrator. And you know, I'm not saying that I copied NewTek's Telestrator, but, you know, I was looking at the UI the other day and I was like, okay, what do they have in there that we're missing? You know, so much of developing a product is looking at the landscape and seeing what's out there, and, you know, maybe, you know, figuring out where there's a hole that you need to fill, or maybe there's something you're not doing that's important. So, you know, luckily the vMix crew and the crowd around vMix, which I'm sure, you know, a lot of the people in this chat right now are involved with, you know, have been an unbelievable resource for me here in St. Louis. And I mean that in terms of beta testing and you know, making the product better. In fact, we're working right now on integrating controls right inside Panamation for clip playback and vMix using their APIs. So look forward to releasing that, you know, in the coming days, which will make telestration, I think, a little bit easier to do. You know, right now, what you have to do is either have an external controller for clip playback, like to hit play and pause, so that you can do the telestration. And then, when you're finished making your point with the graphic, you got to hit play again. So we thought, why not put that functionality right inside Panamation, so that when you want to draw, you can either hit pause or you can grab a still of whatever's coming into the workspace, and when you do that, it will automatically pause the clip, and then when you clear out the workspace, it'll automatically resume the clip for you. So that saves a guy $100 right there in terms of having to buy maybe a controller, or if you already have a controller, of course it will work with that as well. But we've got keyboard shortcuts out, complete set of keyboard shortcuts. If you've got a X keys box, or a macro recordable programmable key thing, there's several of them out there. But you mentioned your party, and I'll stop talking in a second and start taking questions. Or anyway, I just want to mention one thing about the party. So at the party, X Keys Phil Van E won the copy of Panamation, and had I been thinking more clearly, at the time, I would have just taken his card and thrown it over my shoulder and pulled another one out, because those guys, I've worked with those guys for a long time. They actually built a switcher for us back in 2006. It's called the CS100, that was based on their X Keys product, which I'm glad to see that they've graduated over the years to a better and better product. But anyway, bottom line
They're
is
always on the move.
Yeah, I could probably give another copy away, since this is your show, and that was your party. I'll leave it up to you if you want to do that or not.
Well, we're going to think up a contest for that. Let me work on that a little bit.
Okay.
Let's don't do that today.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit more of, a lot of the folks that I work with are in the sports world. And, they've seen the new tech Telestrator that's, I don't know, $500 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Plus, you have to have a tablet or a Surface, Microsoft Surface, to run it on. Tell us what you got. You not only have the software, which is $95 on sale today, by the way. You can buy it on the Eastern Shore Broadcasting website today. But you also have a bundle with a tablet and the software for less than $1,200. Am I making stuff up, or am I right?
No, you're right. That's absolutely true. It's one thing to provide software, but it's important, I think, also to provide a turnkey solution, because
I love this
some
guy.
People just do.
Oh my goodness.
Some people like to play around and sort of figure things out on their own in terms of making things work, and then some people just don't have the time for that, and they want it to work when it shows up
now. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's why we love working with folks like you, and dealers of products that add that layer of support and the value added reseller part.
Sure.
To me is someone who's going to take the time to identify a solution that people don't have to discover on their own.
Yep.
And that's what this tablet thing is all about.
Show us.
There's other hardware.
Show us. This is a show medium. Can you show me something? Show me something.
Let me see here. I don't know.
No.
I actually don't know if I have that.
No pressure.
As a graphic. And let's see here. I can pull up my website and show you that, I think. Let's see. If I go to my vMix and add an input of a web browser, I guess, right? Is that right?
You could do
How we
that.
do this? Let's go to www.panamndi.com is the website, and let's say OK, and there it is. So I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna cut it to full screen here, and let's see now how I can go in and shop, is it? Yeah, there we go. So let's scroll down here. And this graphic is wrong. Let's just, I'll
pay
click
no
on
attention
this.
to
Give you an
that
idea.
price. Yeah.
Yeah, pay no attention to this price. This was a tablet, and I am sorry I cannot see this. Let me just go to another browser here. So what you're looking at is a tablet that I found at a local computer store called Micro Center, and it was sort of the bare bones entry-level tablet that you know, it did work with the application. So you know, it's not the same thing that we're selling you know, for this price that I think is correctly listed there, but let me see here.
All right, well, let's don't get lost in the weeds on this one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so,
we'll get that worked out. So we got a tablet for $1,200, and we've got the ability to. All right, let me see. We've got the ability to write on the screen. That's the thing I love, is that you can take the tablet and use an NDI. You can take an NDI feed from your production PC into the tablet, so you actually see right there on the screen what's being produced. And if you're running Panamation, you can draw right on that and output that NDI back to the production PC. So they just cut to that input that's got that NDI input, and suddenly, pow, you're drawing right on the screen. If the guard is pulling out to the left and the fullback is following him and the halfback is behind him, you can. That blows my mind. There we go. Yeah, let me go full screen with that.
Yeah. How about I stop talking about it and start showing the actual app? That might be more valuable too for folks. So what you're looking at here is, this is actually a YouTube video that you know, is my alma mater. Unfortunately, they got got the pants beat off of them in this game, but you know, but it illustrates a couple of things. One, you know, Telestration doesn't have to be actually even during the event. In fact, when I worked down at the University of Alabama back in 2013, we actually moved the Crimson Tide Productions from their old facility into the Bryant-Denny Stadium, along with WVUA and, you know, the radio station. Unbelievable job. We ran like 50 miles of cable in that stadium. But what would happen was Nick Saban would actually come on a show post the game and do the telestration on camera for video clips. So, you know, this actually sort of illustrates that same thing in a post environment. If you were going to do a coach's show, you know, after the game, you know, this is literally just a YouTube clip here. And I've got it coming into Panamation, which I'll go ahead and pull that up. Here, let me turn on my input and pull that up. So we'll select this and cut it to air. Okay, so I've got a recursive feedback there. I'm actually viewing the output of vMix. I'll go to my live feed here, and so now I'm in this interface. But basically, let's clear this out. This is the Telestrator interface. And what you're looking at up top is a set of buttons that could be hidden to simplify things if you want to. You can actually, all of the user interface is modifiable. I mean, literally anything can be moved around and adjusted. These are all tools here that I have in my toolkit that I can click on and add circles and draw lines and, you know, do all kinds of stuff in here, arrows. Anyway, so it's just basically, this is the simple user interface right here. You know, and I'll walk you through some of these tools quickly, and then we can talk about, you know, the functionality. So,
all right, the very first thing I need you to do, Mike, the first thing I need you to do is to use one of those tools and make that glass door behind you opaque so we can't see through it.
Okay,
I'm really
no
nervous
problem.
about that.
Yeah,
pick
okay.
any
So
tool.
what I would do, all right, we're going to go into my spray tool here, and how about we put a little spray right over there like that, And there you go. How's that? Is that good? How about
Beautiful.
we grow some grass over? We'll put some grass over it. There we go. Let's see. So this actually is a great demo too, because it illustrates how flexible this tool is. Like, oh, you know what? You don't have a grass door in your studio, but we've actually got a grass door here. So look at that. And that's super useful, right? So just kind of adds a whole nother dimension to a production. Like, I'm thinking like schools, maybe where there's a student that wants to be involved in a live production but isn't on camera or isn't running the switcher, or maybe they're doing this as well as graphics. There's just tons of applications for this kind of thing. A friend of mine who does a lot of what do they call them, minor league baseball stadiums. He's talking about all the quirky things that they love to do during the games that get the crowd involved. I could just go through here and show you a couple of the pullouts that I have. You're gonna love this. So this guy right here, look at this guy, that guy right there. We're not gonna get political, but you just gotta love that hair, right? Unbelievable. So all of a sudden, you can do topical things, and this gets into more of this kind of gets off into the weeds again about the functionality. We're talking sports here. Let's talk about some more sports. You can cut up in some football here, and let's get that going on my output and check that out. So now what you're going to get a demo of is sports. So this is
sports.
the football game here, and let's see. I think if you just click in these things, it actually plays. Let's see here. Reload page and get that to play. And again, I'm learning vMix here, but you can actually take these things full screen too, or at least I was able to earlier. But anyway, so we've got that, and maybe I want to show off in this particular shot something unique. So let's go to snap an image here, and I'm going to pull up my workspace again and cut that onto air. Okay, nope, that's not going to work, is it? Let's see here. So I need to not be viewing that. Let me clear that out. Disconnect.
This is the hardest part of it, to show what you're showing it while you're doing it.
Yeah. So what I'll do, actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab an image of it, and then I'll just do some modification to it right here. So let's cut that up into program. And there's the full screen. That's what I was looking for. Great. So we're going to just grab an image and snap stroke. And now I can choose my interface here and show off. What I want to show off now is actually some of the neat things you can do when you grab a still. And so what I've done is I actually come up here and hit snap, and then I chose snap stroke, which what it does is it literally grabs an image of whatever's coming in via NDI into the workspace and puts it in there for you. So now I can navigate in my folder here to grab some of the different things. So I can add a darken tool, and then I can come in and actually spline out something that I want to illustrate. So let's say it's this guy right here. Okay, that's an erase tool, and clearly it's showing vMix underneath it. Let's do this. Let's take a magnifying tool and show, okay, this guy's feet were clearly in the goal.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So
I love that.
So there's all kinds of stuff that you can do, and this could be put down to the sideline if you had an NDI monitor on the sideline to show replay, or show the umpire, not umpire, what do they call them?
The officials, yeah.
Officials.
No, they wouldn't pay any attention. But I could see where if I had instant replay, and I'm going frame by frame with instant replay, I can magnify it, I can draw a circle around it, I can indicate the future position of somebody on a replay. I love it. I love it.
Well, here's another neat check this out. Bang. So I don't know if you can see that, but what I've just done is I threw in a little opportunity to sell, right? So if you're a school, you know, maybe you want to get sponsorship for certain tools, you know, or even if you're not a school, you know, these extra features are things that you can sell basically as a production, you know, a layer of production. So
Gotcha.
Let's see here. I'll show off a couple other things here. I'm going to go ahead and select myself again on program, cut that up, and then I'll clear this out. So here I am, and there's Jessica too in the background working away. So some of the other features in the Telestrator, you know, are the ability to, you know, add key things that you want to work with all the time, you know, sort of a favorites up here. You can just drag and drop new ones right up in there. I'll just take this guy and put it right there and select it, and so now I've got this really cool spray tool that can add all over.
Yeah, we can't see any of that.
Yeah. Oh, you're not seeing it?
We just see you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let's turn on this source here. There we go. Thank you for telling me.
That's okay.
So
we still see you.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right.
So, yeah. So I can actually go in and adjust, you know, all my tools right from here as well. I can choose which NDI input is coming in, which, by the way, we're working on supporting the Blackmagic capture cards as well as far as output, so you can do key and fill, which I noticed vMix is supporting now in their new version.
Right.
You know, so that's a neat thing. In case you want to use coax to move the video around, you can certainly do that. And anyway, clearing out the workspace is very simple. It just Telestrator is a relatively easy tool to use, and you know, all these things you're seeing here in this. Let me pull this back up again to go back to the Telestrator and choose this and cut it on. So what all these things you're seeing, like I say, you know, don't have to be visible, right? Like if you wanted to all you ever wanted to see was this part right here, you know, that'd be great. You could do that. Like you don't need to see any of these tools. Keep it simple, you know, for the students or the, you know, coach or somebody, the color commentator on the sideline, you know, can be very overwhelmed by lots of buttons. So if this is all that you ever really need to interface with, you know, guess what? That's all you have to see. So that to me is a key thing as well in terms of introducing people to a new tool. You know, as a trainer, I know that it can be very overwhelming to sort of try to take on everything at once, and you know, so we've tried to minimize that impact with this user interface while still offering the full suite of tools that are in there. So anyway, that's the Telestrator part of it. Any questions so far?
Awesome. Awesome. All right, well, bring yourself back to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And we're going to wrap up the show and move into the post show, and we can do questions and answers there. So if you're watching us live, hang out. If you're watching us in a recorded version, you might see the post show too. So Mike, thanks so much for coming on. We'll be right back, folks, with the post show and questions. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube and you want to see outstanding video content, don't subscribe to us. And we'd love to have you in our Facebook group. Come on over to facebook.com/groups/streaming idiots, and you can get in on the streaming idiots group. Ah, there we go. There we go. Oh my goodness, there's two of me. That's better seen in post show. So let's close out this segment, and we will go to post show. And remember, let's see, next week we have, let's find our calendar real quick, because I want to give a shout out to our guest next week, which is going to be Eric Pratt with U.S. Broadcast Distribution. Eric's going to be coming on to talk about the UON cards in particular, and we'll probably get into some other things like that, similar to that anyway. So on behalf of Mike and Panamation and me, Tom Sinclair and Eastern Shore Broadcasting, I want to thank you for tuning in for the live portion of the show today. We'll move to the question and answer period right after this awesome closing. Check out this closing from Martin Kay. It is amazing. Check it out. Awesome. I love it. And as Martin Sinclair is fond to say, we're out.